President Biden speaking at the White House, talking about the economy, trying to spin this, bringing up unemployment numbers and small businesses started, Bianca. But we've heard President Biden speaking on the economy before, and what we've heard, Bianca, is a lot of lies.
Yeah, we're going to do a little fact check here for you. Of course, we're monitoring this speech today. We'll bring you updates. But again, his address today comes after a number of his claims, John, about his economic accomplishments, as well as those attacks against MAGA Republicans, have been proven false.
That's right. Here is the president today, obviously. Let's listen in for a couple seconds just to get a gist of what he's saying.
Solutions. And there's going to be more we're going to have to talk about as well. But first, I want us to be crystal clear about the problem. There are two leading causes of inflation we're seeing today. The first cause of inflation is a once-in-a-century pandemic. Not only did it shut down our global economy, it threw the supply chains and demand completely out of whack, especially in countries where more effective recovery responses weren't available, especially in those sectors that rely on semiconductors. These supply challenges have been further hampered by the onset of Delta and Omicron viruses. And you've all seen it, you've all felt it. And this year we have a second cause, Mr. Putin's war in Ukraine. We saw in March that 60% of inflation that month was due to price increases at the pump for gasoline. Putin's war has raised food prices as well, because Ukraine and Russia, two of the world's major bread baskets for wheat and corn, are essentially completely stalled. Ukraine has 20 million tons of grain in storage in silos right now. They're trying to figure out how to get out of the country and to market, which would reduce prices around the world. Normally we'd have already begun to export them into the market. But
all right, so President Biden then again, Bianca, talking about these two things that he continues to blame inflation on: the pandemic, which has been over effectively for a lot of Americans for a long time, and Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine. When we've heard again, time and time again, from liberal economists Stephen Ratner and Larry Sumner, both the work in the Obama administration, that it was the spending at the beginning of this administration that it really put us in this bind on inflation.
Yep, and again, so it's trying to shift the blame here, but really we're not going to let him get away with it, though, because there are some instances of just recent comments that were not accurate that he has tried to sell to the American people. Let's listen to President Biden, what he said just last week about the GOP and taxes.
Let me tell you about this ultra-MAGA agenda. It's extreme, as most MAGA things are. It will actually raise taxes on 75 million American families.
So that claim that congressional Republicans want to raise taxes has, of course, been debunked. Fact checkers at the Washington Post, of all places, Bianca, gave this 3 Pinocchios.
Yeah, not one, but 2 or 3 there, right? And during the same speech last week, John, President Biden yet caught in another lie.
Let me remind you again, I reduced the federal deficit. All the talk about the deficit from my Republican friends, I love it. I've reduced it $350 billion in my first year in office.
But here is what the Committee for Responsible Federal Budget, which is, by the way, a nonpartisan and a nonprofit organization, said about that, John, saying, quote, the president's actions to date have not reduced deficits, but instead increased them. Between the American Rescue Plan, the bipartisan infrastructure law, and the various executive orders, we estimate at least $2.5 trillion has been added to deficits through 2031 over the president's term so far. And again, bears repeating, that is a nonpartisan organization saying that.
And again, you know, what he said today, blaming this on Vladimir Putin, blaming it on the pandemic, we've heard this so many times before. Here he was very recently, or here is Jen Psaki, I should say, the spokesperson for the White House, talking about this not too long ago.
Chairman Powell has spoken to this, and Secretary Yellen has also spoken to this as a result of President Putin's invasion of Ukraine and the impact on the global energy markets. Those are all steps and impacts that I don't think anyone could have predicted a year ago.
So, you know, what we've seen, too, is Jerome Powell and Janet Yellen, they're really just mouthpieces now for the left with their economic policies. Jerome Powell raising interest rates perhaps a little too late.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we are watching, of course, the president's speech right now, monitoring for news. But just moments ago, he said, tries to take the accomplishment for 8.3 million jobs he's taking credit for. But look at where we were. So yes, you can create jobs, but there was a huge hole of where he was able to bring it up from, though. So that, of course, matters as well as how you shift the statistics there, John.
Right.
And his speech also comes ahead of tomorrow's CPI report for the month of April.